Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to this week's wellness webinar series. And for our fourth edition, I hope you're all having a great day. So again, my name is Leah. I am with Kelly's Choice. And we're going to jump right into our topic today for this week, which are Kelly's tips for missing nutrients. So we're going to go over some of the most commonly deficient nutrients among Americans and give you some tips on how to make sure that we're getting enough of these in our diet every day. So once again, our mission is to empower individuals to invest in themselves and their overall wellness in pursuit of living their best lives. So we do this by giving you the education like we're doing today. And we also do this by working with you individually so that we can give you the tools and the confidence to really make sure that we are living our best lives. So again, if you are a staff member, I highly encourage you. This isn't, our services are covered by insurance, and we do provide services. So once again, I do encourage you to follow up and look into that. If you do have any questions or health related or diet related issues that you want to address. Okay, so the standard American diet, we can think of that as sad. It is sad. We are increasingly eating more and more processed, highly processed foods and less whole foods and nutritious and nutrient dense foods that are really required to help our bodies function in the best way possible. And when we think about the common nutrients that are missing, we are missing these nutrients that you see here. So potassium, fiber, calcium, vitamin D, and iron. And this is actually, if you're wondering where this comes from, this is coming from the US dietary guidelines. And if you haven't heard of that before, you are not alone. I think most people that I bring that up to have no idea what I'm talking about, but it is a thing, and they are updated every 5 years. So a lot of health professionals and dietitians and scientists, every 5 years, they review the latest research, because just like with all science, it's continuously changing, and our recommendations need to be updated. And when the dietary guidelines are issued, they also identify what are the nutrients that are most lacking in the American diet. And this is how we come up with these 5 nutrients. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And it's going to be really easy to identify when you're shopping for food as well, because these are all going to be the ones that are labeled or included on the nutrition label. At the bottom, you'll be able to see the amount of these foods, except for fiber. Fiber will be more under carbs, but all of these other vitamins and minerals are going to be at the bottom. So always look at the nutrition label to see if we're getting enough of these nutrients. And again, why are we lacking? Because a lot of our foods that we're eating are highly processed, which means they're refined, which means that they are through their processing, a lot of their nutrient content is removed. And in place of that, we're putting more sugar, we're putting more fat, we're putting more salt. And that's why we, as a whole, as a society, are not getting enough of these nutrients. So the first one up that we're going to talk about is potassium. And potassium is considered a mineral, and it is super, super important for maintaining our fluid and mineral balance. It works with sodium to do this. So sodium is an essential nutrient. Our body does need it. I know it gets a bad rap, but we do need it. It kind of works in partnership with potassium. The problem is when we're getting too much sodium and not enough potassium. It is a very, very important mineral, and a lot of the foods that you can find this in are leafy greens and vegetables like eggplant. You can find it in some meats. You can really find it in a variety of foods. I know last week this came up a couple of times when we were talking about our superfoods, like the tomatoes and the beans. There are a variety of ways to get it, to get potassium. And the recommended intake for each day is for each American to get 4,700 milligrams. Only about half of Americans are getting this much. About 56% of Americans actually get this much every day. And again, that's because of this role of these highly processed foods and this enormous amount of sodium that is going into the foods to make sure that they are last on the shelf. So it's just really important to make sure that we're getting this so that sodium can work with potassium to really make sure that we are maintaining that fluid balance, but also it can also help in health terms. When we translate that, it helps to reduce our blood pressure. It helps to reduce our risk of heart disease and stroke. It helps our muscles to contract. There's so many things that potassium is important for. Fiber, you may have heard this a couple times by now. It is a theme. It comes up in each of our webinars that we do, and that's because it is so important for so many reasons. It can help to regulate our blood sugar, especially when we're thinking about diabetes. But it's also very important for our digestion and our ability for our body to break down our food and to remove the toxins that are in our body. So fiber is considered a non-digestible carbohydrate. So it doesn't break down, but what it does is it moves through our body and it collects the waste, and it eventually eliminates that. And so it promotes this healthy movement of our food throughout our body, and it can help to prevent constipation. It helps to lower our cholesterol levels by removing the excess cholesterol in our blood. And there are two types of dietary fiber. So we have soluble and insoluble. And you may remember if you've ever had a science class and you're thinking about putting a substance in water like sugar and you watch it dissolve. So that's similar to soluble fiber. It dissolves in water, whereas insoluble does not dissolve in water. So soluble soluble fiber is going to increase in bulk and kind of help to grab onto these things and these toxins and the cholesterol, and to remove them. And that's why a lot of times you'll see, if you're shopping for oatmeal, that health claim on the front of the package that may help to reduce cholesterol, because it's that soluble fiber within that oatmeal. And then the insoluble fiber can help to, again, just to kind of grab these things as it's going through our body, these toxins that we don't need and that can promote harm within our body, and remove them. So fiber is very, very important for so many reasons, and we'll talk about it next week as well, and for different about different health benefits. Despite this, Americans are typically only getting half the recommended daily amount, which is 25 grams per day for women and 38 grams per day for men. And again, one way you can kind of look to see how much fiber you're getting is by looking at the nutrition label, and you'll see a percentage number all the way on the right-hand side. And generally speaking, if it's 20% or more, that means it's a good amount of fiber. And if it's 5% or less, that means it has low amount of fiber. So that can be a quick indicator if you're not sure. But overall, if you want to get more fiber, eating whole grains, eating fruits and vegetables with their skin on it, the skin is going to have a lot of that insoluble fiber. Last week, we talked about chia and flax seeds and beans, those superfoods. They're one of the reasons they're super is because of the fiber that they have. So those are just some ways, but again, between getting those whole foods, those whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and then looking at that nutrition label, that will really help you to reach this recommended intake. All right, next up we have calcium. Calcium is a mineral, and it is very, very important for bone loss and preventing bone loss and maintaining our bone mass, especially when we're thinking about ages 19 to 30. This is when our peak bone mass is actively working. After 30, where our ability to build our bone mass is severely limited. So it's especially during this age period in your life where we just really want to make sure that we're getting calcium. Older adults as well are going to need a little bit more calcium than other populations, because to help maintain that bone mass and to prevent it from deteriorating. While 75% of Americans, they do consume the recommended intake, which is 1,000 milligrams per day. There are particular groups that need to eat a little bit more. So postmenopausal women or older adults over 50. So they're going to require a little bit more. And again, that all comes to bone mass and preventing that. And we can get that through dairy products, low-fat dairy products like milk, cheese, yogurt. We can also get it from other foods as well, like spinach, and fortified foods have a lot of fortified foods being foods that have the nutrients added into them that aren't naturally in there. So if you, a lot of times you'll see milks or orange juices or different types of juices will be fortified with calcium. So that's really important to look at on the label. Sardines as well, and some other foods as well. So it's so this is very, very important again for our bone mass is the main essential crucial part of calcium. And working with calcium, we have vitamin D. And vitamin D is going to work with calcium in addition to phosphorus, in addition to magnesium and vitamin K to really maintain our blood health and our bone health. It seems like every day there's a new study coming out about the benefit of vitamin D. It's been linked with a decreased risk of breast cancer, decreased insulin resistance with diabetes. It's been linked to decreased risk of depression and decreased progression of multiple sclerosis, epilepsy. I mean, it's really been tied to so many different health conditions, and so important. And it's also just overall, generally speaking, very good for our muscle strength, for our cell growth and health. It's important for our immunity and preventing us from getting sick. And despite all of these health benefits, most Americans are not getting enough. And for women and men, the recommended daily amount is 18 milligrams, but only 28% of Americans meet this goal. So only about a quarter of Americans are getting this amount. And when we think about food sources of vitamin D, milk is going to be a main one. Also salmon, egg yolks, and in addition to food, we are, the sunlight is going to be a good source of vitamin D as well. When we, our body can naturally convert make vitamin D from the sunlight. Now, what's the problem with that? Some people don't absorb that sunlight as well as others. Most of us live in areas where it's not very sunny and not very warm throughout the year. I'm from Rochester. I very much understand not seeing the sun for days or weeks at a time. It's a thing, and then you know, those moments when we can walk outside and actually expose our bodies to the sun is, you know, only a few months out of the year. So it's really important to try to get these foods that do have it. Also, milk and other like orange juices, same thing with calcium, they're going to be fortified with vitamin D. So looking for that, looking for those foods that have been fortified. And a lot of these foods that have vitamin D or that are fortified are also going to have calcium. And it's important to remember that we need to, since vitamin D works with all of these minerals, it's important to have sufficient amount of calcium and vitamin K and phosphorus to allow vitamin D to be, to work in the best way possible within our body. And then last, but absolutely not least, we are going to talk about iron. Iron is one of the most common mineral deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies in our country, and this is across all age groups. Children it's super, super important in early life, early childhood. It helps with brain development and growth. And even during pregnancy, it can help with fetal development. Later on with when a woman is pregnant or postmenopausal, iron is going to be very, very important for ensuring ensuring that we have enough stores within our body. So iron, what it does is it transports oxygen throughout our body, and it removes carbon dioxide. And so when we don't have that oxygen being delivered to our cells into the different parts of our body, we're going to feel tired, we're going to feel fatigued, we're going to feel, we're going to maybe have headaches, maybe dizziness, we're going to maybe have some pale skin or pale fingernails. And so it's really, really important for our brain health and our physical health to be able to have enough iron. And because women do need that added amount during pregnancy and postmenopausal, the recommended daily intake is 18 milligrams versus men, the daily intake is 8 milligrams. So again, this is because they're more likely to suffer from deficiency. And you can get iron from meat or plant-based food sources. You can get it from chicken, from beef. You can also get it from fish, but whole grains are going to be a great source. Beans, again, when those superfoods that we're talking about, chia and flax seeds, some more superfoods we're talking about. And there's going to be iron in dark green, leafy green vegetables. There's also going to be iron in nuts and seeds, similar to flax and chia seeds. So there are, if you are a vegetarian, I know a lot of people think that they worry about iron, but there are a lot of sources where you can get iron from plant-based foods. And I will say that when we were talking about vitamin D, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, then supplementation may be something to consider. That's definitely something you want to talk about with your health professional, because vitamin D, if you're not getting it from dairy or from one of the food sources that like eggs or salmon, if you're a vegan, it can be really hard for you to get, especially if you're living in an area where the sun is not shining and it's not warm most months of the year. So that is just something else to recommend, to keep in mind. All right, so how can we incorporate more of these minerals into our foods every day? So let's talk about potassium. So you could get a small baked potato with skin. You could have a medium-sized banana. I know in campuses, bananas are often always the fruit that's available. You could get some spinach and beets, and so looking for these things while you're on campus, and they're also it can also be easily made, like cooking spinach. If you put it on a saute pan, it will take a couple minutes. Add some spices for flavoring, and you're done. You can do cooked beets as well. So there's all of these options are very easy and very accessible. You can also buy them frozen or fresh. You can buy them pre-prepared, where they're already cut up to minimize the time if time is a concern for you. So for fiber, you could do 1 serving of beans, which would be half a cup. You could do black beans. You could do any kind of fruit, like a pear is going to have a higher amount of fiber than a lot of other fruits, but any kind of fruit really with the skin is going to be a good source of fiber. Half cup of raspberries. You could also, again, do that potato baked with the skin. The skin is key because the skin is where you're going to have all of that fiber in your fruits and vegetables. You could also, add to your black beans and your baked potato. You could do half a cup of cooked whole grains. Whole grains are going to be really good for fiber as well. And for calcium, if we're thinking about things in addition to milk, you can do 1 cup of collard greens. That's going to be a dark leafy green. And if you're cooking them, then that's going to increase the availability of calcium within your body. And then you can also do a 1/4 cup of Swiss cheese to get that calcium. You could do some yogurt as well. Yogurt can be a fast, easy snack to take with you and have between classes or before class. Looking for collard greens or any kind of sauteed cooked greens at the cafeteria or on campus. And adding them to any kind of food that you have is going to be a really easy way. There are usually at least 1 type available on campus, but again, it's super easy to prepare at home as well. Vitamin D, some options for that. You could do a 3-ounce canned tuna in water. You could do a cup of fortified milk or a cup of fortified orange juice. Again, you could do salmon, or you could do a whole egg. So when I say that egg is a source of vitamin D, I'm talking about the yolk specifically. So in the past, the yolk has gotten a bad rap because it's like the fattier portion, but actually the yolk has a lot of vitamins and minerals. So you want to, if you're looking for vitamin D, then that is going to be your source. And way to enhance the use of vitamin D by our body is to eat it with a type of fat, because it is a fat soluble vitamin, which means it needs fat to be able to be dissolved and absorbed into our body. So if you are having a salmon salmon is it has those healthy omega-3, those healthy fats. If you had it on a salad, you could do olive oil to get some more added healthy fats and to help promote that vitamin D absorption. And then for iron, you could have clams, you could have edamame, lentils, a 4-ounce beef sirloin steak, or 1 cup of cooked broccoli. So if we're thinking about 4 ounces of beef steak, so if you look at the palm of your hand, that's about 3 ounces. So you want to kind of keep your meat slices to about the same size of the palm of your hand. And again, like the edamame, you could either, that's another easy snack that you can bring with you. The lentils, lentils are so versatile. You can add vegetables to them. You can make extra as leftovers and freeze them for later on in the week, or even, they can last for a couple weeks or a month in your freezer as well. So thinking about how to cut down on time for food preparation. And so other ways that you can have iron, again, if you're not getting a if you don't eat meat, then you can also, those whole grains are going to be really important. So you could have brown rice, you could have a sandwich with peanut butter on a whole wheat bread, using whole wheat bread or whole wheat English muffin. You could have a also with iron. Iron is best absorbed and when you have vitamin C as well. So vitamin C can come from any kind of citrus fruit or tomatoes. So adding a tomato to your pasta dish, your whole wheat pasta, or adding raspberries to your oatmeal, that vitamin C is going to really help with the iron absorption. So thinking about how these things pair up. And if you are taking, for any reason, a supplement for iron, if you have low iron and you are taking a supplement, you just want to make sure that you're not taking a calcium supplement with that iron supplement, or if you're taking a multivitamin that has iron in it, you want to make sure it doesn't have calcium as well. You want to take that separately. Or if you're taking an iron supplement, you don't want to have a glass of milk with a lot of calcium, because the calcium is going to reduce our body's use of iron. They kind of compete for the body's attention. And so for this reason, you want to kind of separate those two and pair iron with more vitamin C rich foods. So I hope that you're walking away with a little bit of some tips that you can use at home, and you found this information helpful. I do encourage you again to take a look on Healthy, HEALTHIE.com. If you do want to speak individually, if you have any nutritional questions or concerns, we are available for that. And you can sign up through Healthy, again, HEALTHIE. Next week, we're going to be talking about digestive, the role of digestive health, and what the role of nutrition when we talk about digestive health. It's one of my favorite topics. I'm really excited. I hope you join us all next week. And I hope you enjoy today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, enjoy the rest of your week, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.